to replicate his childhood home in Adelaide, notwithstanding he was now sharing a small apartment in Walthamstow with 3 other people. The furniture was arranged in the same way, the clothes were scattered on the floor in the same way, the books and the posters were all totally the same, and it was literally like he transported his room 12,000 kilometres away and had been sold. The second thing was that he was now about 30 kilograms lighter, undoubtedly as a result of the bagged fish diet and an inability to afford beer. The last and perhaps most surprising thing was that Julian was doing really rather well for himself. He was working for Egg, which at the time was the largest internet bank in the world, and he was enjoying it. Much before I first met him in 1990, Julian was both mentally and physically in a good place. I immediately went to work rectifying his setback. And by the end of the week, he had devoured some 8 curries, 25 samosas, 3 cartons of beer, and I dimly remember getting vodka from a liquor outlet at 4:30 in the morning and demolishing it with Julian before he went to work 2 hours later, ready to calculate finances with some of Egg's more sophisticated mathematical algebra. I'm told that after I left, my efforts to show Julian the error of his ways were successful, and he returned to proper and taut form, including by falling asleep on the tube and being gently shunted from end terminal to end terminal on the Piccadilly line for the better part of an evening, and on another occasion leaping from a rickshaw in the Soho district while it was in full transit. These stories can't be properly narrated by Julian directly, and I will leave them to you to embellish and improve over time, just like I like to do. Anyway, as it turns out, and despite the challenges, London was a great learning and educational experience for Julian, but he missed me too much and returned to Adelaide via several years into Toowoomba, where he worked for Namoi Cotton and was known as Cotton Buds. And then he worked at the Heritage Building Society. However, the chapter in Julian's life which brings us all here together tonight starts back in Adelaide. Julian commenced work at Adelaide Bank in 2006 and remains there to this day. He has re-embraced the Adelaide life, including by enthusiastically chucking sickies, watching all manner of sport on Foxtel with a TV in every room of the house and even one outside, drinking Cooper's beer and captaining an indoor cricket team. What I suppose is important about all this is that he also met Mel, who was working at Adelaide Bank and made herself known to Julian via mutual friends. Those who know Julian know he has a great, if somewhat warped sense of humour, and it should be of no surprise that the first date was at a Woodley show of Lano and Woodley fame. It seems that both Julian and Mel enjoyed themselves tremendously at the show, and about a week later Julian invited himself to Mel's 30th birthday party. It was there that the first kiss occurred, namely when Julian asked Mel, "Have you had any birthday kisses?" She responded with, "No." The ever suave Julian then stubbed out his cigarette, gulped down the last of his beer, rasped and cleared his throat, and finally proposed that he might be the one to deliver a final present to Mel that night. It must be said, it is with some luck that we are here today, ladies and gentlemen. Despite his sleek romantic abilities. Anyway, Mel first gave Julian a row test when she moved in with him at Hampstead Gardens. And notwithstanding that he was clearly not the best model in the yard, she decided that she liked his trim, despite the rust and belching smoke, and love eventually blossomed after she pulled his choke. There was a short startling moment thereafter when self-improvement was mooted prior to marriage, and Julian gave serious consideration to losing weight, obtaining hair transplants, stopping smoking and drinking. As some of you know, Julian is a great lover of cricket, and his planned personal fitness improvements were his chance to be like Warnie, having finally met his Hurley. For a short period, Julian's doctor had an empty diary and was seriously re-evaluating his financial future. However, after an unpleasant week and a surprisingly large bill from Ashley and Martin for what I considered to be only modest results, Julian came to view the situation in the same way I did, and he abandoned the plan. As previously said, Julian is a creature of habit, and the fact that he considered such things and genuinely acted on them is a testimony of his love for Mel. She often says that she's a lucky woman. Ultimately, it is clear that Mel found the man of her dreams, and Julian is a considerably better person as a result of her having settled for him. The fact that she is even now tolerating his cats is a sign of the deep love in place, and she clearly worships the majesty of Julian. Life is moving onwards and upwards for the newly married couple. The vast majority of Julian's unfortunately embarrassing surgeries are now complete. Work is stable, and all things considered, the groom's health is passable when measured against the standards of third world countries. Not that long ago, the matrimonial home-to-be was purchased in Athelston. Julian immediately constructed a rumpus room in his shed, put a TV in it tuned to Foxtel, and in all other respects replicated his childhood home down there. He can be found in there most evenings playing cricket on his computer and listening to Roxette. A new era in the minutes of the Button family meeting is unfolding, ready to record pocket money being declined to an entire new generation of little Buttons. Julian has come full circle, and this is a wonderful new beginning which I, and we all, wish Mel and Julian much happiness and joy with. Mel and Julian work together, live together, laugh and cry together, share and make stories and memories, and are creating both their own future and history together. That is what a marriage is all about, and it is a fortunate thing that not all people have the luck or the ability of obtaining. I congratulate them both on their clear love for each other. It is really wonderful to see. Mel and Julian as individuals, as you know, are smart, funny, kind and generous. They have touched the hearts of their friends, and I'm not aware of anyone who does not hold them in the highest regard. It's a privilege for me to know them, and I feel blessed to have them both in my life and thank them for the opportunity of speaking today and of being best man, which I'm sure is a decision, Julian, that you don't regret. Together, I think everyone here will agree, Julian and Mel are a wonderful couple and they complement each other's strength and virtues. Anyone here and sharing this moment knows that and is uplifted by it. A wonderful occasion like today cannot occur with the success that it's been without the contribution and the love of relatives and friends. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the bride and the groom, I take the opportunity to thank the Flower Girls and the bridal party, Jodine, Olga, Lisa, my wife, Megan, and the junior bridesmaid, Georgia. All of the girls look absolutely stunning, the blokes have scrubbed up pretty well, and it's taken a lot of work in a short period of time. It's got to be said, Mel, you've worked a miracle, and the people that have helped you do it, it's just wonderful. Your efforts and your care today have made this event what it is. I also thank the parents of the bride and the groom, and I congratulate them on this day. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the bride and the groom, I thank you for your attendance in sharing this special event. I'm quite certain that Mel and Julian are deeply grateful for your presence here tonight and your contributions, each and every of you. It gives me real pleasure to ask you all to stand and raise your glasses to the newly married couple. Let's do this together.
Big round of applause for Felix and for Mr. and Mrs. Harley. I'm definitely not worth standing for. Thank you for the insight into some of Julian's early moves there, Felix, that worked on Mel. It gives hope to everyone who relies purely on alcohol and bad pickup lines for their love life. Now, just like the excitement one feels when on the same day that Mel's customer service team exceeds all minimum key performance indicators and Julian at the same time arranges for a private finance corporate client to acquire an appropriately sourced loan, so too is the excitement that Mel and Julian feel for each other every day. Forcing the Bendigo and Adelaide Bank reference a little bit to that. We should actually give the bank an acknowledgement here because they've actually closed down the Adelaide customer service branch so that Mel can have the wedding today. So, the impact is not insignificant. But look, the Mel and Julian love story is an important one. It was only a few years later, of course, that following Julian's very smooth lines there at the casino near the escalator, I believe. That of course there was the big proposal day. Look, I won't go into all of the details. Let's just say that it did involve a trip to Semaphore, Julian booking the wrong place, and when pretending that they were going down to meet people from work, they were presented with just a table for two. But look, he pushed ahead in any event, and between Mel saying yes and the surprise party that occurred later to celebrate the engagement, Julian somehow, and I think this is a testament to his culinary interests, got Mel to the 24-hour Cafe Billy's for a quick bit of pastry. Usual cynicism aside, I must say that I haven't heard anything in the lead up to the wedding that would undermine the conclusion that Melanie and Julian are very much in love. I've spent some time with them myself and they couldn't stop raving about each other. Certainly Mel's TV viewing might be characterised by shows such as Wife Swap, X Factor, and other reality TV shows where Julian would prefer a documentary about war or history. But where they differ there, Julian of course might choose Guns N' Roses, and Mel is of course one of the few people who isn't disappointed that John Farnham continually comes out of retirement. And even though anyone else's relationship might take a hit when the bride asks the groom to wear a Mark Prosciutto mask on their honeymoon, Julian and Mel's love of the Adelaide Crows Theatre and anything that Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory has to say means that they are the perfect fit. Now, I should just say, Julian and Mel, I've spoken to the bridal party, various friends, your family, and no, this isn't a roast. I'm saying quite seriously, Julian, you are repeatedly described as honest, genuine, caring, hilarious, smart, insightful. Mel, you are constantly described as friendly, loyal, compassionate, clever, popular, fun-loving and sincere. And I can only hope that one day I'm described by one of those words. Now sure, Julian, the word stubborn was mentioned at one point, in part because of the time that you thought that the explorers Hume and Hovell had sought the Murray River, and that you refused to change your mind and believe it was Hume and Hovell because you had heard it as Hume and Hovell. But that stubbornness, of course, manifested itself as determination when during your brief time in Murray Bridge you worked so hard on a pitch, and you never told me this, I can't believe it, that you ended up with a trip to Canberra for it. So your determination is very much a positive. And when it comes to Julian and Mel, the couple, well, you are constantly described as working well, you're brilliant together, and you're genuine friends who relate to each other so well, which I think is pretty special. No one even had to pretend any of these phrases when talking to me. I can only assume that you'll achieve great things together. I've also heard about you, Melanie. You've always been a can-do person, even the time that Kathy was running late, your lovely mum Kathy was running late to pick you up from school and you're only a little kid. She thought, oh God, she got there, she couldn't find you, she didn't know where you were. And then suddenly there was just this little beaming, happy as Larry face out the bus window who had worked out where to go, how to get home. No worries at all, I can get on with it. Which probably explains why the bank was happy to work around your schedule. And on a final note, I do just want to say this quite seriously, particularly having spoken to your family members. They very much adore the both of you. They are very proud of you. You've clearly supported them all through tough times. You've clearly been selfless. And the way you've handled the events, particularly with your mum, dear mum Judy, Julian, has really touched their hearts and they're very proud of you. So I think that's amazing. Now, textbook MC trick, if you say something serious, follow it up to something ridiculous. The one thing I found difficult preparing for this wedding was seeing email exchanges between Julian and Melanie in which they would respectively call each other